Hello. Hope you all are doing well today. So the Creativity Cocktail is a podcast where we talk to creatives from all over the world and talk to them about their process and what's happening with them and how they can help other people who are looking to enhance their creative lives. So we hope that you love this podcast. You subscribe, you send us comments. Our goal is to have 100 people join our podcast and really share their experiences with the world. So we hope you love this. Thanks again. And don't forget to go to risingtidescharity.org and to check us out on iTunes, Spotify, and everywhere else where you can check out podcasts. Take care. Nic Starr represents so much that is powerful about the Atlanta theater scene. I consider him a mentor and a real force within our community. He is a strong leader. He manages the Marriott New Theater in the Square. And if you haven't checked, they've got amazing shows there of all types. This podcast is really about him sharing his view and some of the things that have actually motivated and inspired him. We hope that you will take this opportunity to learn from Nic, to learn some of the things that he has accomplished and some of the things that he's still doing. We believe this podcast is really amazing. We hope that you all join us. If you are a creative person, please reach out to us. We'd love to have you on the show. We are going to achieve our milestone of having 100 people on our podcast here in the very near future. So we would love for you to be part of that. Again, this is the Creativity Cocktail, powered by Rising Tides Charity, and we hope you enjoy this message with Nic. Hello, everyone. This is the Creativity Cocktail, powered by Rising Tides Charity. We are honored today to have Nic Starr join the podcast. Nic Starr is such a force within the Atlanta theater community. I've had the pleasure to know him for several years now. He runs the Marriott New Theater in the Square, as well as having classes with young people that him and his wonderful wife, Princess, conducts. So, Nic, it is so great to have you here today on the Creativity Cocktail, powered by Rising Tide. Say hello to everyone.
Hey, man, I appreciate you inviting me. You know, it's always a pleasure to have some conversation with you, bro. Nice to talk to you.
Thanks so much, Nic. Nic is... I tell you, I can go on and on about the things that Nic has done for me personally, specifically as I was going to produce a show over the last couple of years, and him and his wife have been just an awesome people. So, Nic, let's just jump into it. Typically, we talk about a little bit about where people have come from and some of the tools that they're using to make themselves to deal with their creativity. However, in your case, I just think that people really want to know about you. And I use the word force. I was going to use the word icon, and but I didn't want you to feel too embarrassed by that.
No. Thank you.
But I would love for you to tell a little bit of the people who may have been hearing your voice for the first time, a little bit about what you do and your presence in the theater community.
Well, I would, if I were to describe myself, I would say I'm blessed to be a theater advocate. I happen to just be somebody that loves theater, and God has blessed me with the opportunities to pretty much live my dreams. I do a little bit of producing, directing, and I get the chance to perform every now and then. In fact, we're on stage this weekend with Jim of the Ocean, so I'm a theater lover. I would say I would call myself an artist like yourself, and I'm blessed with the opportunity to do what I love.
That is awesome. If I recall, you were one of your productions, or maybe more, were in the Atlanta Black Theater Festival last year, if I recall that correctly.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
We Tony Hinton, a very good friend of mine, another theater advocate. We're trying to really keep theater alive and keep it thriving here in Atlanta. There was a time when everybody was sending outside of Atlanta to get good artists, and we're trying to give a venue for people to do it here. I mean, I think we have a lot of awesome talent right here in Atlanta, and so we're trying to keep it right here at home. So.
Yeah, if I recall, the one that you were involved in, that was the meeting, right? With between
with Kerwin Thompson and Jael Pettigrew. They performed as Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. And Jael, in fact, won an award for Best Actor for that particular theater festival. So we're very proud of him and the work he's done. And that's what we're trying to do, man. We try to continue to put out good work and give venues for our local artists to do their craft, to show their craft.
That is wonderful, you know, and I've seen it firsthand that there are so many great, talented people within our community.
Yes, sir.
That are doing some amazing things. It's gotten to the point I always make the joke, and for those of you who heard the podcast, please forgive me for making the joke again. But we could literally have a podcast like every day because there's so many amazing people in our community and in our city.
Absolutely.
So Nic, about your creative process, since you got your hand in several things, producing, directing, acting, is there a way or an environment or a thought process you get into when you say, you know what, I was doing one thing a second ago and now I've got to be creative? Is there any kind of tools or ways that you get into creative mindset?
Well, prayer is the first thing. After I sit down and make sure that I get the go ahead from God, and He clears my mind to let me think and tell the story in the way that He would want me to tell it. For me, that's the biggest thing, is being able to tell the story. And before I tell the story, can I tell it in a way that it hasn't been told, or when I witnessed the story or when I read it, was something missing for me? Did I get something else out of it when I read it? So that when I tell the story, I want to make sure that I tell the story in the best way that I can do it. And so that's really the nuts and bolts for me, is being able to tell the story and tell it in a way that people will understand and people will walk with something. You know, a lot of people focus on the entertainment of it. Mm-hmm. A lot of people focus on the money. People have the different focus. I just want to tell a good story.
Yeah. One of the things you said that connects with me is that you want people to walk away from the show with something. And that to me is always like of all the goals you want to have, it's like that to me is the most ultimate goal, not just the other things that come along with it, the entertainment or anything else. It's just like, did it affect you in any kind of way?
Exactly. You know, I want it to be an experience. I mean, you can go to a show or you can go to an experience. And I want it to be an experience for whoever's in my audience.
Yeah, we've got that in common, that's for sure. I've talked about anything that I'm involved as experiences versus just, anything else. Because when you go to theater and I'm talking to the choir a little bit here, it's such a unique experience. To me, it's much better than other forms because you're interactive with it. You are in it. It's not like it's not like you're watching your TV. You're in the show.
Exactly. And good or bad.
That's right. and the discipline to do it, especially with the everyone who's involved, the actors and everyone to put it on, requires an unbelievable amount of focus. There's no cut when you're doing theater. You're on stage. You got to go right for it. I know you're involved. You have an organization or some work that you're doing. I think it's called Young Voices. Do I have that right?
Yes, Young Voices United is a nonprofit youth troupe that's been here in the Atlanta area since '96. And we're now housed in a new theater in the 12. But it's a group of amazing young people who love the arts. And what we do, we take the arts, performance arts. They dance, they sing, and they act. But we mask it in life skills. So they come to learn how to perform in the arts, but we really teach them life skills. That's our mission. Making a difference in our kids' lives so they can make a difference in the world.
Wow.
And that's very important to me and my wife.
Wow. You said 1996.
I'm not a pastor.
1996.
Yeah.
Wow.
1996. And though I'm not a pastor, we do call it our ministry. So we don't even call it going to work no more. We don't call it it's not a hobby. It's not anything other than it's our ministry. Because we get the opportunity to give and to serve the community, and that's important to us.
So when kids are involved in it, or young people involved in it, how do they find out about it? Is it something that you canvass them, or did it come to you? How does that work?
Well, usually we go to Marietta Square, and I'll put the kids up on stage to rehearse anything that we're doing at that time. And there's always kids that gather, there's people that gather, or I might take them downtown we might go to a movie, or I take them out to the Fox. But
right.
Wherever we go, we perform. Oh. And wherever we perform, we draw more kids. And so that's pretty much how it happens. We have one sponsor, that's the Atlanta Braves. They give us tickets every year to come out to see the games. And my kids, we go out there and we perform and we do what we do. And people, the word get out. It's word of mouth. We're mom and pop. We don't have a Delta or Coca-Cola. We don't have any sponsorship, but we have God. And so we have what we need and we do what we do.
Wow. That's awesome. The way that, you go out and you perform and that level of attraction brings in people. That is so cool. Because that to me, it's reminiscent of how theater was birthed, right? Or how it was born.
Exactly.
Whether it's the African tribes doing storytelling or the Greek version of theater, it was about people talking about what was going on out there.
Exactly.
Wow. So I'm going to ask you a question that you, of all the guests that I've ever had, probably has even a wealth of experience beyond others. Because, a lot of times when we have people on the podcast, they've just come to Atlanta from somewhere else. They just got here like a year ago or a couple of years. And so they've got that perspective of the community as a new person in it. However, right. I get a sense that you've been involved in the Atlanta community for some time, and you mentioned it earlier, with Tony Henson and some others. My question is about the Atlanta creative community itself. What are your thoughts on it? What are some opportunities that we have as creators within it to grow it and to really make it prosper?
Wow, it is limitless. There's people out there. I mean, just if you look around you, you look at those like Tom Jones, Kenny Leon, Gary Yates, Keith Franklin. There's a lot of artists out there and that's a group that they all came up together doing what we're doing now and staying true to the craft. And if you stay true to the craft, you have that solid foundation. And then you can't help but build a wall, or you can't help but build something that's going to be there forever. For a long time, they were, when the film industry came here, they were sending to LA or New York for actors to come in to do this, that, and the other. And now, up to 5 years ago, they were still doing that. But here recently, you find out, you go to the callbacks and you see a bunch of Atlanta people. People who come up through the trenches. Tony Vaughn, Maurice is still here. There's just a lot of artists that are still here, still doing the work that I can remember just going to a Friday night show and seeing them on stage doing the piano lesson, or seeing them on stage doing the Amen Corner. When I first arrived here, you got theater companies like Jumanji's and, just a lot of people who took part in putting into this thing. And it's just made it so awesome today. So we stand on a lot of shoulders. August used to come here and share his work, right here before he took it to Broadway. Yeah. So it's a lot of history right here in Atlanta that we get the opportunity to wallow in if we chose to do so.
Yeah, you and I think we're involved in working with some individuals around crafting a kind of a collective. This might have been a couple of years ago, to actually try to harness the power of all of these creatives that are here in Atlanta. And I get a sense that you probably feel similar to myself in regards to that's something that's needed and warranted in our community, because there's so much great stuff in there. If we can just coalesce it into an organism, we could really do some amazing things.
Wow. It will be so powerful. It will be so powerful. And the more we get the opportunity to come together and share our craft and just talk about it, or to talk story, the more we get together and do that, the better we all become as a community. We got together here recently to celebrate one of my mentors, Mr. Torian Black, who lives here in Atlanta. He goes to the theater still. I mean, you never know he's in the audience, but he'll come out and he'll sit back to see his show, and he'll go back to Centennial Drive and chill. But he's one of those people that's done theater, film, TV. He's done it all, and he's right here in the community and loves sharing what he experienced with people. We did his very first Torian Awards in May, and it was a great turnout. A lot of artists came together, and we celebrated each other's work, broke bread, and looking forward to doing it again. So it's a lot going on here that we can, and if we come together, it'd be so much better.
Yeah.
We have so much more to do, so much further to go.
All right. I tell you, when we get close to the next Torian Awards, I would like to ask you to come back so we can make sure that the world gets to know about that, because you're right. Anything like that can celebrate our community specifically, and all the great works that's happened now and in the past, I think is just so powerful. I get this sense. I get this sense that when you think about industries, right? So like Detroit was known for the motor vehicle industry, and Silicon Valley was known for fintech and computers and so forth. And Atlanta's moniker, if you will, is that we're really starting to become a real hub of strong entertainment. And I think that being able to solidify that is important. We don't want to be a place where say, hey, 10, 20 years ago, Atlanta was this. And what you're doing is really helping us to get there.
Well, it's once again, it's the village. It's the community. It's you, it's me, brothers like Dap Paxton. There's so many brothers. I don't want to start calling names. I'll get people, but there's so many out there who are trying to bring this thing together and solidify it. People used to call it the Dirty South, and it used to be all about the music, and it's still about the music. But we have so much more as far as artists and talent is concerned. And it's no surprise to me that Hollywood is coming this way. Yeah. It had to. This is where it's at.
There's no doubt about it. You mentioned earlier your mentor, Torian Black. Are there any others who are like that, have been very impactful in your life as you continued on in your career?
Oh, my goodness. Torian was the one. Years ago, my dad would sit and watch Torian on TV. And I was that young man trying to be like my dad, and he's telling me, "Don't try to be like me. Be like that man right there." He had that kind of strength, to walk across the television screen and do what he did. And then you go on to find out, he's part of the Negro Ensemble and all the other things he did. But I also look to, and people always look for people who are named. But for me, there are people who were in my life that nobody would know but me. There was a professor named Evelyn Etheridge, who started my youth group. She's the one who told me, you need to get a group of kids and start sharing what you know.
Wow.
Because it don't do you no good if you keep it to yourself. Go over there and teach that to them kids. I taught it to you, so go teach it to them. And so she started that, and we still, she had a group called the Efforts Arts Ensemble. She was a teacher out of Payne College. That's the college I went to. And she was very instrumental in making me think about, at that time I was doing it because I like being on stage, limelight,
right,
glory, that kind of thing. But she was the one that made me think about, okay, you can do that character like this and get all this shine, or you can try to make those around you look a whole lot better. And your shine will come eventually, but it'd be lasting, and you would deliver a message. You become a stronger actor. So stuff like that didn't make sense to me at all back then. Yeah. But it's meant the world to me now. To do something without having a message behind it, to do something without a purpose. You're just doing it. You're just throwing it in the wind. You're spitting in the wind. But what's the purpose in that?
That's right. Wow.
So those would be the two for me. Of course, you watch My Day was Lou Gossett. He was another one of those, but that would be my trilogy: Lou Gossett, Torian Black, and Evelyn Edwards.
That is great. Thanks for sharing that. So let me ask this. So if anyone who's listening to this podcast and they say to themselves, I'd like to have a deeper conversation, I'd like to connect with Nic Starr, what's a way that they can do that, or a couple ways they can do that?
I have been blessed to work at community theater, which means everything to me. People kind of, community theater, they don't make no money, they don't do this, they don't do that. But what we do get the opportunity to do, we get to meet artists at all levels, those who are just starting out and those who are doing it and appreciate, what they've been through, and they come back and still contribute to the community theater. It's all about the community. It's all about the village. So if anybody wants to sit and talk to me, love to break some bread with you. We're at the Marietta's New Theater in Square, right in the square of Marietta, 11 Whitlock Avenue. Stop by, let's break some bread, let's talk, and let's be part of the village. Let's be part of that movement to make this thing, to solidify it, to make it stronger.
I tell you, as a person who's personally familiar with that square and that theater, rather, you will love everything about it. So those of you who are out there and want to connect with Nic, there are shows going on there, I would say, every weekend, and things going on throughout the week. So
every weekend.
Yeah. So and the quality, like Nic said, the quality is amazing, and it's in a wonderful part of Marietta as well. So last question here, Nic, and again, thank you so much. I tell you, I feel so honored that you would join this podcast, as we're just...
I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you.
We're just starting out, and we've been getting so many great creatives, and to have someone who's got such tentacles like yourself in the community on this podcast is an unbelievable blessing. My last question to you...
I appreciate you.
My last question is, if someone right now they work creative, or they feel that their creativity is not going where it should be, what is some advice you'd give to a person out there about harnessing and growing their creative and spiritual selves?
Find people who are like-minded. You can read all the books you want. You watch all the YouTube you want. But until you get out there on that stage, until you get yourself in that situation where you are able to flex your muscle, flex that creative muscle, that's when it starts taking place. And once again, it's nothing like being in the community theater where you can come out and, you don't make money. There's no money in it. But if you're doing it for the money, if that's your purpose, then I will be the wrong person to talk to, because I'm still doing it for the love. I love what I do. But I think in that love, if you truly love what you do, you find something you love doing, and you'll never work a day in your life. And there's ways to make money out of it. But you start at a place where you study your craft. Make sure you're right with your craft and you're true to it. And go someplace where you can actually use what you're learning. There's people who go to classes forever. They go to class, and they go to auditions, and, every once in a while, but it's all about the class. Classes are great. You should be studying. You should be learning your craft, but put yourself in an opportunity where you can actually flex that muscle. If you can't get into a show, you want to be in 12 Angry Jurors, you can't get in the show, produce it yourself. Get you a group of actors who are like-minded, who want to do it, who want to do the work, and you don't have to wait for somebody else to validate you. It all starts with you.
Yeah.
You got to make sure you're ready. You're ready.
You're speaking directly to me and to hopefully this entire audience as someone who's taken steps like that in the past. Because your point is so unbelievably valid. So if someone out there is 20 years old or 70 years old, you should still take that step. And we know so many people where they get to a certain point in life, whatever that point is for them, and they say, well, this is the box that life has told me I'm supposed to be in, and then I should just keep going in that box. And I don't believe that, and I know you don't believe it.
No, not at all.
You know, whenever it is, I've been blessed to be around people of all kinds of backgrounds and ages and so forth in this community, and it continues to grow. Nic, you are an awesome brother. I really appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for this. I hope to have you back if we can on the podcast.
Oh, anytime.
And for all of those who are out there, remember, this is the Creativity Cocktail. Powered by Rising Tides Charity. Our goal is to make sure that we talk to people of all creative likes and to make sure that we're creating a concoction, a cocktail, something that you can drink and it'll nourish you as far as your creativity. So again, Nic, excited to have you. Thank you so much, and we will talk to you soon.
Thank you. All right. Thanks for having me.